I think that the worst misconceptions about Islam are not held by non-Muslims. As a matter of fact, it's by Muslims. We have a skewed view of what religion really is, what this book really is, what Islam really is, and we carry a lot of those misnotions our entire life. And it shapes our view of our religion. And that, unfortunately, this skewed view and a twisted version of what you might think the religion is, what Islam is, can affect somebody so much it might take them away from their deen. It can just literally take them away. So here we are, interested in introducing Islam to those that know nothing about Islam, and at the same time, in large numbers, even though people don't say, I'm no longer Muslim anymore. They don't come out and say that. But in their head, and in their hearts, they're distancing and furthering themselves from the light that Allah has revealed, and it's happening in our own families, among friends, and we're not dealing with it. We're not addressing that problem. So I wanted to start by saying that this problem didn't just come out of a vacuum. Why does somebody start doubting their religion or start feeling a lack of, commitment to their religion? Where did that come from? It's unfortunately because we, as an ummah, and I don't blame any one person or any one group or any one school of thought or anything like that, we collectively, we've unfortunately given a biased message of Islam, whether we realized it or not, through the pulpit, meaning the way we communicate the message of Islam, the way we teach the message of Islam. When a young child or a teenager came to the masjid and sat and listened to a khutbah or listened to whatever lecture or whatever else, overwhelmingly there were some messages that were there, unfortunately, for a long time, that should have been balanced, but they've been imbalanced. And a lot of times when people find Islam later on in life, they have a lot of guilty conscience for the life they used to live before. So they try to become more Islamic than Islam itself, right? So they also develop this narrative that they have to be constantly angry. They look upset all the time. Every time you see them or they see you, they're giving you a fatwa, they're giving you a khutbah, they're telling you how you're going to burn in hell if you don't change your ways, and they just look miserable. They look miserable. And they look disconnected, like they used to have friends they don't have anymore. They used to get along with family, they don't get along with them anymore. Everybody's fitna, everybody's fasad, everybody's corruption. I want to protect myself, I don't want to be in their gatherings, etc., etc. The more closer to deen you become, the more your cousin becomes a fitna, your uncle becomes a fitna, your parents become a fitna, your spouse becomes a fitna, and you're just sitting in the masjid, or you're just on your own, cut off, and then you start getting the impression, well, I don't want to get closer to Islam. Because if I come any closer to the religion, I'm going to become like that. I don't want to be like that. No, thank you. I'd rather live a happy life. So you know what people even have developed? They've developed the impression, hey, are you Islamic or are you normal? Okay, are you like Muslim or are you like Muslim? You know what that means is that if you become closer to Allah's deen, then somehow you lose your ability to be normal. And that did not come from anywhere. It didn't come from a vacuum. There's actual real behavior of people that makes it seem like the closer to religion you get, the more abnormal you become, the more antisocial you become, the angrier you become, the more judgmental you become, the more miserable you become. So why would that be something that you would want in your life? Why? When you find the impression that people got of the Prophet ﷺ when they met him and knew nothing about him. They knew nothing about him, and they would meet him. They would want to stay in his company. His smile was captivating. Like companions describe, he was almost always smiling. And today there's a direct proportion. The longer your beard gets, the tougher your harsh face becomes. Like it just gets grumpier and grumpier. It's a direct proportionality between those two things. That's a problem. That's a very serious problem. Why wouldn't you be scared to even come into a masjid? Why would you attend an Islamic program? Why would you come to a halaqah? Why would you go to a convention? Because when somebody says, hey, there's this national convention happening, or there's this speech happening, or this program happening, you're like, I don't go to those people. That's the scary stuff. Have you seen those people, the way they look at you? No, thank you. I would rather have a normal evening. So forget scaring non-Muslims from Islam, we've scared our own from Islam. We've terrified them. I had this impression of Islam, I certainly did. When I was in college, I saw a guy with a beard, with a flyer for the MSA meeting, I went the other way. I was like, no, thanks. I'm not doing that, One time there was a family, friends, they had a funeral, and that was the one time in high school I went to the masjid. I didn't go to Jum'ah, my entire high school, I didn't go to Jum'ah. I went this one time to the masjid, and the imam of the masjid, drove me back home. So this is I'm scared to death because the guy is like, super imam guy, and I'm this kid from high school, and he's telling me, if you really want to go to Jannah, then you have to, spend time learning Islam, and you have to get away from. And he said, what do you do? I told him I like playing basketball. I do this, that, the other. Yeah, you have to leave these things, and you have to. And I was like, whoa, I need to get out of this car. Can I get out while it's still moving? And that's the impression I had, and it was terrifying to me. Now, what do we do about that? What are we supposed to do about that? I would argue, and I said this in a subtle way before, but I'll be more explicit now. I would argue the impression we have given people about Allah, we as an ummah, the impression we have given people about Allah is not actually the way Allah presents Himself. Allah speaks Himself a certain way, about Himself, introduces Himself a certain way, but we talk about Allah a certain other way. In other words, our narrative of Islam is very far from the narrative of the Quran itself. That's Allah speaking Himself. But if you don't open Allah's book, and you don't seek to ask those questions, and you don't come to it with one attitude, you're not opening the Quran to figure everything out. You're not opening the Quran to criticize it. You're not opening the Quran to become a scholar or to quote it at somebody else or to win an argument. You're opening Allah's book because you want a direct connection with Him, and you rather He speak for Himself. You would rather He speak for Himself than somebody else speak for Him. You understand?